Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to coverage of the Women's U.S. Amateur Championship from here at Strokers, Palm Harbor, Florida. This event brought to you by the American Pool Players Association with our streaming coverage brought to you by our friends at PoolDog.com. I'm your host, Jason Bowman. I'm joined by Jeremy Jones, Team USA Vice Captain, and all-around good guy. Jeremy, train just keeps moving along here. Third round at the Women's U.S. Amateur Championship. Take a look at some of the tournament format rules before we get started with this next match. Of course, it's a race to 5, combination 8-ball and 9-ball. We'll see 3 games of 8-ball, potentially 6 games of 9-ball. This is a double elimination tournament with the winner of the lag choosing either the break or the format. And the players that we're going to have here in the third round, we'll see Amy Peterson out of Aurora, Colorado, and Tino Castillo out of Frederick, Maryland. Before we go to the table, let's hear a quick word from our friends at PoolDog.com.
Same old when you're buying billiard supplies? Come shop with the big dogs at PoolDog.com. You want pool cues? We've got over 700. Balls, cases, accessories, no problem. Want help with your game? How does hundreds of free training articles sound? Want to shop offline? We'll mail you a free catalog. Hit us up online, PoolDog.com, or call 866-843-3294.
All right, and we're back with Tina Castillo. She has the break. Tina in the blue shirt. Her opponent currently seated, Amy Peterson. I don't know if we got any clarification. Did Tina win the lag and took the break or the format?
Well, pretty nice break off there. Decent spread, making a stripe on the break, and she's got a nice starter on the 12 or the 14, and really a runnable table. Not much trouble as far as congestion for the stripes. And you can see the 15 just below the spot area. That's kind of the lonely ball there, but it goes to both of those corners, and the 8's available later on in the rack. So I think, a lot of times when you play 8-ball, Jason, it's kind of a half-table game. And what I mean by that is you clear balls on one end of the table, and then you come down, and, you kind of end your work on one end of the table, then you come down with the cue ball and clean up another end of the table. You don't want to be going back and forth a lot with the cue ball playing 8-ball. So should be something like this 12 in the side and then roll up for the 9 in the side. And then she'll come down table for these last 3 stripes that are also near the 8. So pretty solid thinking to open up here.
Was informed that Tina did win the lag, which means Amy would have chosen to start in the 8-ball set. Just kind of going back through the ladies, and Tina's not sure if she's better at 8-ball or 9-ball, whereas Amy said mostly 8-ball and 9-ball, some 10-ball. Enjoy 8-ball the most, so there we go.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty solid stroke there. Now she's gotten a little out of line here. So she'll play a soft combination, I'm sure, on the what would be the – oh, she can get at the 11. Okay. So she'll roam up trying to get on the 15 here. Oh, that's great speed control, and I'm not so sure of how much time she's got to spend on this TV table, but she's had the cue ball really on a string here in the first game, and you can see it's just a 15 ball, and I believe that's the 12 near the cue ball there. Oh, she gets side, and we see her let her stroke out a little bit as well. So now she's going to have to involve a little cue ball movement, most likely playing the ball in the side pocket, the stripe, and running the cue ball up the table and back down for the 8 in the lower side. Some would say, she could take it in the corner and just come across. But here, when you have this choice, Jason, you don't want to take on a missable ball.
Mm-hmm.
The ball on the side for this young lady is not very missable from what I've seen so far of her ability. So no reason to shoot this ball in the corner, especially when you really have options for position as far as moving the cue ball or just drawing it over. Wow, she's got a great stroke and too much stroke.
Tina from Frederick, Maryland, 35 years old, playing pool for 17 years.
but now she resides elsewhere, I believe. Isn't that what it said to open? We had one from Colorado. Maybe I'm thinking of the last match. She's still in Maryland.
Played in the U.S. Amateur Championship last year. Played nervous, lost early on. That's according to Tina. So we'll see if she's settled down a little more. Of course, she's looked pretty good in this first game of the 8-ball set.
Very impressed.
Maybe a little long on the leave there, but
yeah, and let's say she hit it too good, meaning she just got too much draw or more draw on the ball than she certainly anticipated, because she had a bit of an angle on that last stripe in the side. So looking at what's the most possible way to not only hit this ball but possibly make it in that lower right-hand corner. I think this is probably the best way, unless she knows a good 3-rail kicking system, or if she feels comfortable kicking 3 rails, that's a possibility as well. But I liked what I've seen from her as far as a very athletic motion with the stroke, not steering the ball too much. Now she's going 3 rails. I like this. I think she's got a better chance to make the 8 that way. And a great contact on the 8, and really applying a lot of pressure to her opponent, because you can see other than that 4-2 combination, she has really not left her an offensive shot.
so for the first time, we'll see Amy Peterson. Amy out of Aurora, Colorado, 46 years old. Been playing pool for 25 of those 46 years. I love stories like this, Jeremy. My mom played on an APA team, and they needed a lower-ranked player, so I joined as soon as I turned 21. So she went from the lower-ranked player on Mom's team to the U.S. Amateur Championship, and I love to see that kind of progress from an amateur player. That's a great story.
Yeah, and it says 25 years, but a lot of the amateurs, again, kind of like I was, I think, when I started, don't realize how much there really is to the game.
Sure.
So, they learn a little bit, and then they kind of just settle on that for learning a little bit until they get their eyes opened a little more to the game. And
sure,
that's where you'll see some of the amateurs really take off, actually kind of a little bit later in their pool careers, you might say.
I know it's always a challenge for us when we get members to join, because a lot of times they're brought in by a friend or family member because, kind of like Amy said, they needed a lower skill player, somebody that never
Sure.
played, and so they don't know all the things that APA offers or that pool in general has to offer, whether it's following the pro side of the game or, logging into their member services account with their statistics. I mean, there's just a lot to know, and if you're just my buddy and said, come play pool on Tuesday nights with me, I don't know all that yet,
Sure.
and I've got to learn it. So definitely a learning curve in getting it when you're getting into the pool world.
And a lot of people realize how much camaraderie there is. It's
Definitely.
There's a lot of fun moments. Okay, another nice hit. And she kind of knew that she probably wasn't, I'm not even sure where she called it. She probably called it up in that upper right corner where the 8's near. But she probably knew that there was not much chance of making that, but definitely doesn't want to give up ball in hand, wants to make her opponent earn this out. And the problem with 8-ball, and we all know it, is when you run all the balls and you don't complete the run, just with one of your stripes left, or just like here, just the 8 left, you have pretty good the worst of it, meaning because your opponent has so many choices on playing safe against you, just in case they don't like the run out. Aurora is a suburb of Denver, so a lot of pool in Denver, that's for sure, and a lot of league pool for many years.
That there is. She cited her husband Brad for all his love and support, her friends and family up in that area. She mentioned a couple names I'm familiar with. You probably know Sam Deep or Depp.
Yeah.
And Randy Getlicher. Is that how you
Gottlicher.
Gottlicher, yeah. Big instructor.
Yeah, he's from where I live, actually. He's in the Dallas area.
Yeah. She also mentioned Bear Down Billiards and Chisolum Woodson, her sponsor. Chisholm Woodson.
Yeah. I don't know.
Her
don't
sponsor.
Know them.
So, looks like she's got a lot of folks in her corner. That's nice to see. Rooting her on back in the Denver area.
I'll tell you,
She might turn this rack around.
She looks pretty solid, I'll tell you that. Good stroke. Very in controlled, the stroke as well. And looks pretty confident at the table, too. Like, you can tell sometimes when some of the players, the amateur players, get a little lost, you know, and you can kind of see it in their eyes. I see it in pros sometimes.
Sure.
But most of these ladies, it seems to me, are very prepared, not only physically but mentally. So we've seen a couple of matches that were a little one-sided, while both ladies in each match played well. We saw Miss No just didn't get any rolls in that last match, and Teresa played a solid match on top of it. But
first match we saw Lisa Cosette, defending champ, and she looked every bit of it. She struggled very little.
Great shots.
Was that
on
a
the
5-1 win there?
Yeah, and just impressive shots doing so. So a choice here now. I don't think a safety is the option. I think she's going to go for the bank and try and hold the ball for the 8. Now, is she going to roll it? I would probably shoot it with a little more speed, I think. Okay, and that's the problem when you roll it. It tends to want to go long on you a little bit.
That'll bring Tina Castillo back to the table, shooting on the 8 ball.
And, you know, that was a bank shot miss, but I'm going to try and keep track of this. I don't expect many open shots missed by these two young ladies. They look very solid to me.
Pockets that 8 in the corner. Tina is on the board first, leads 1-0. Again, that's the first game of 8 ball. We'll see 3 games of 8 ball, potentially 6 games of 9 ball in this race to 5. Mentioned at the outset our friends at PoolDog.com, who are helping us to bring you this free live coverage of the U.S. Amateur Championship. They've got a special offer available to our viewers right now. $134 if you're interested in getting one of their new Summit low deflection shafts with a Kamui clear soft tip. Got that available for you guys right now with a 60-day guarantee. So if you get it and you hit with it and it doesn't suit you, you can send it back. And best case scenario, you get it and it plays great. Your game is on fire and you're here at the U.S. Amateur Championship next year. So make sure you go to their website, PoolDog.com. Check that out. Special offer for our viewers. Little nifty camera work there by Steve moving around.
I kind of like the mobile camera. And look at all the balls on the right side rail. We got 6 of them really within a playing card of the side rail. You don't see that type of rack very often. You know, well, a little further than a playing card, I guess. But my old eyes at first, I thought they were a little closer. But when I see that deal from Pool Dog, it kind of makes me think if you're a player that's never really toyed with low deflection before.
Right.
I mean, how could you beat that deal to try and, you know, see if it's something for you?
Yeah, and I think that's their point of their offer. I mean, there's obviously a lot of low deflection shafts, but they're very expensive. You generally to get involved in one, it's a couple $100s or more. You mentioned some of the carbon fiber ones, which are really pricey.
Yeah.
You know, so they want to try to get people to using better equipment at an easier entry rate. So if you're interested, again, that's a pretty decent offer. It comes with the Kamui tip, so check it out.
That's a lot of value.
There's
right
Mr. Bayawa. What's going on, Ernesto? Good to see you, buddy. Here, peek in there, Ernesto. Say hello to the.
Yeah.
Get your face in there, buddy.
Put your pretty
there
face
he
in
is.
there, Ernesto.
There's Ernesto, former U.S. Amateur champion. What year, Ernesto? 2012. 11. I knew I was close.
You were on, actually. That's what
close.
you said.
I said 11 earlier, and then I
you said
changed
11,
my
yeah.
answer.
I think I influenced that one. I was like, really? Ernesto's, of course, like all of us, older than I think he is. But
everybody I know is getting older. Isn't that
That's
crazy?
Right.
I just turned 33, man.
Yeah. On the road again, huh, Ernesto?
Teresa played pretty good that first or
Yeah.
that last round.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looking strong.
Yeah, I'm cheerleading this year.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Goes like that.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
You get
That's right.
Amy Peterson at the table here. Got a question here. Let's see. What needs to happen to start to get outside game sponsors / advertisers? Right now, this game is very small, meaning all the sponsors, advertisers are related to a specific game. Yeah. Jeremy, we talk about this all the time in the billiard industry. I know you guys talk about it as pro players. We talk about it as organizers of the game. And, yeah, I mean, I'm assuming this person's asking about Fortune 500 type sponsorship from outside the industry.
Like
and
other sports.
helping to build a pro tour and legitimize the game and TV coverage. And we'd all love it. I mean, all of us that are in the pool world, it's just I don't know what needs to happen in that regard. There have been companies in the past. R.J. Reynolds Tobacco obviously was involved for years before the tobacco legislation of the late 90s limited what they could do. We've had beer sponsors involved. We were kind of talking about it earlier today. For me, I think what has to happen is one of those companies with some deep pockets has to figure out a way to monetize it and make money off it, right? Because nobody's going to do it out of the kindness of their heart.
Right.
It's got to be a profitable entity, and until somebody kind of masters that, Matchroom to some degree has done that. At least
they've done a great
internationally
job
with the TV and the Sky Sports, and maybe there's something to be kind of followed there, and I think they're kind of expanding what they do a little bit with the
I think
US
also,
Open.
and maybe, you never know what might happen with Matchroom. They try to do it at a high level, but one thing that I think Matchroom has really done that is very important is they've developed a product.
Yep.
There's a product with the Mosconi Cup now. There's a product with the World Cup of Pool.
And that takes time. I mean, the Mosconi's 25 years old. We were talking earlier.
Yeah,
that's changed significantly.
Give the tickets away back in the day. So, but seeing a bigger picture that it's going to take a little time. And I think that's a lot of it. A lot of people really try to, when they go to doing a tournament or whatever, they try to make it as grand as possible at the beginning. And I think you got to think a little further
Long
ahead.
term,
Exactly. Yeah.
I think one thing people can do, though, in terms of our viewers, you've got to support the people that are supporting the stream. So we talked about Pool Dog, right?
Mm-hmm.
Christmas season's coming up. If you're going to buy billiard accessories, new stuff, hit Pool Dog up, right? They sponsor tons of stuff in the pool world, right? Free streaming for all. Matchroom's getting ready to do the Mosconi Cup, and it's going to be on a streaming platform called DAZN.
Mm-hmm.
Go out and pay the $20 and do it. If you want to see more of that, you got to contribute, right, to some degree. And that's another part of what it takes is kind of everybody pushing in the same direction, I would say.
Yeah, and the sport, there's so much to the sport. A lot of people, there's so many avenues people can watch pool, and there's, it's just like, one person likes Coca-Cola, another person likes Pepsi. So, you're not always going to get them in the same thing, but to recognize the people that are working hard and give them support. That's
Absolutely.
Because they're going to continue to work hard. Usually, the people that work hard from the get are going to continue to do so. So, I think those are the types that really need to be recognized when it comes to supporting the game.
Yeah. So it's a good question. I don't know that we had the perfect answer, but I know it's something that people in the industry are constantly talking about.
Absolutely.
How do we make it? The next. I don't know what you want to equate it to right now. Poker's.
Well, poker.
I don't know if it's kind of on the slid back a little bit from what it was maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's a different beast, anyways. You can poker. You can pay your big entry fee, and a lot of people play it because a number of reasons. You can be a smart person and pick the game up. It doesn't take much physical, of course, and another reason is, she hung it. So tough shot, and probably was going to have to bank the 8 cross side, so it wasn't easy anyways. But one thing about poker is so much different is you have a lot of people they call dead money. You've heard that before. People that aren't going to have much of a chance to win the tournaments most likely. And, in pool, when you play it and you're dead money, well, you have to show how bad you are dead money. Because it's a physical game that you see balls are missed where – And poker, I can just say, "Oh, you beat me that hand. Let me muck my hand," instead of showing you how bad I play. You know, so
that's a good point. I never heard that.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to get embarrassed. You know what I mean in the game. So, but maybe a jump shot here.
Again, this is Tina Castillo at the table.
Oh, she went for the curve. Okay.
Tina out of Maryland.
And, being here since Sunday, I came from the International, and a few of these ladies were here early, and more have come every day. And now, of course, we've got them all. But really a good group of ladies, it seems like, to be around, and I see them all competing with each other. Although serious, they're enjoying their time here in Tampa.
As are we. It's been a beautiful, at least the first few days have been pretty beautiful. I haven't peeked my head out in several hours since we got here. It was
No, it's much nicer.
little
out
overcast
now.
this
No,
morning,
it's sunny now. Yeah,
which made me feel a little bit more okay about going inside all day. But
no, it's nice and sunny now.
all right, well, now you're upsetting me. So
yeah,
no, I'm just kidding.
the temperature picked up a little bit, but okay. So should be 6 in the side first here. She could shoot the 2 and move the cue ball all the way up the table and back. And I guess that's what she's going to do. But a lot of times when you're in this spot, you have 2 balls, right? So just look at, hey, if I played the 2 first this time instead, or the 8 or the 6 first this time, which one looks better? And she played it perfectly, though, as far as the execution. And maybe the 6 in the side was a little bit of a sharp angle to try and pocket that one first. Okay, so looking to tie this match.
Were there any women playing in the International Open? I know there's usually a few that enter.
No. You know, there were a lot of the Chinese Taipei players and the Chinese players.
Yeah.
And at the U.S. Open last year, they sent a couple, Siming Chen and then another couple younger ladies playing. And I expected actually a few, but, you know, that traveling abroad is difficult.
Yeah.
Visas
Well,
and
you know
everything
all
else.
about that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I went so many years without doing it. You know, I didn't ever leave pool, but just didn't, compete internationally for a number of years. And now all of a sudden with the work more than the playing, all over the place it seems like.
If you're out there and you're an aspiring professional pool player, you better be interested in traveling worldwide. You better like airplanes, because that's what you're looking at. I mean, you really got to travel abroad to be successful now.
Yeah, you do. And I think more is going to come back to the U.S. than people anticipate. Maybe I'm wishful thinking a little bit, maybe, but I think it's an incredible opportunity. Anyways, I got to go to so many places now.
Yeah,
it'd have been nice if we had a week extra at each one to vacation, but we still got to see a lot of sights and meet a lot of different cultures and be around a lot of people and interesting stuff.
I think that's what it takes, though, to be one of the top players in the world now. You've got to be playing players in the Philippines, in China. You guys were in Russia getting ready for the Mosconi Cup and playing some of their most talented players. You really have to take on that international field to be one of the best, like a Shane Van Boning or a Sky Woodward. I mean, you've got to be willing to put in the hours and the travel to do it. I was talking to Tyler Steyer a while back, and he said, like 18 years old, he went over to the Philippines for 2 months by himself, 18-year-old kid going over there because, and he said, I went over there to gamble, right? Because that's how I was going to get better. And, I don't know, at 18, my parents might have been like, you're going to do what?
Right.
But, look at him. He's mid-20s on his second Mosconi Cup team. His career's off to a great start, but had to invest pretty heavily in that success.
And he's not the first that has made that trip to the Philippines. Yeah. Many have taken that journey trying to get some experience.
Yeah, it's like a rite of passage.
Yeah. Okay, so a missed cross side bank on the 1. And so Amy will take the table after a dry break and a few balls ran by Tina. But Amy's got to take the stripes, so there's some congestion on the side rail between the 10 and the 12. I think the 9 and the 13 and the side are very doable. Her angle's taking her up table a little bit. Well, that'll work. I think the 13 goes by the 9 and the side. Now she's got a couple balls that are kind of like by themselves, that being the 15 and then on the opposite end the 11. So normally when that's the case, you'll want to drop down and get those taken out of there, and I think she'll probably do so off the 13 right here. Drop down on that 11, which is now at the top of your screen. I think she can roll this 13 in also, Jason, and bump the 1 if she wanted.
Amy's played here at the U.S. Amateur Championship 2011, 2013. Looks like she went 2 and out in 2011, 3 and out in 2013, losing the second and third place finishers. So she'll look to improve upon that this year.
And both these ladies, I mean, that was I think she only had about a half a pocket there on that 13 in the side, but both these ladies look pretty solid. Real good clue on what's going on with the game as far as how it should be played and the patterns and stuff. And really, Tina, watch just what I really like about Tina is really an athletic motion with the cue. And sometimes you'll see some of the amateurs that kind of steer the cue a little bit, and not the case here with Tina.
Once again, if you're interested in following the bracket of who's playing who and when, you can go to compusport.us, select the U.S. Amateur Championship, and you can follow along. Find out when your favorite player is playing next or how they've fared thus far in the tournament.
And I know it, to some of the pros it may sound silly, but I wouldn't mind entertaining a format like this for a professional tournament where you integrated 2 different disciplines in the tournament during the matches. One thing that our sport is lacking at times is statistics. You see statistics in all the other sports, just every 30 seconds they're showing you something. And if you did something like that, you start to create a little bit of those statistics where, this guy has an 80% win playing 9-ball, but then he falls off on the 8-ball and whatnot. Oh, nice shot there.
You have a particular format that you excel in over others? If you were picking the format to begin in?
I think overall, if there's anything that that leans a little more my way, I think alternate break is the one part of a format that I'm kind of a grinder, and usually whenever I was playing, it was pretty good psychologically. Like a lot of guys playing alternate break, if they get down 5-1, they're almost like they feel like they can't win at a pro level, because how are you going to make up games at alternate break?
Right.
Well, I'm kind of the believer that you can make them up the same way you lost them. And so I think that kind of sets up for me as well as anything.
But like 8-ball, 9-ball, no preference?
Well, I mean, I've always been known as a player that plays most all the games pretty well.
Yeah.
I would have to say probably, with the guys these days, one pocket is probably my, best chance playing the top players. But I like them all.
Yeah. So if you're picking 8-ball, 9-ball to start the match, you're picking?
Probably 8-ball.
8-ball.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, a nice shot there. Okay, so a decision. She's a little stretched on this combination on, I think, is the 10-12 on the right side rail. And she really needs to draw the ball to make sure she gets shape, because the 10's not going to move too far away from that side rail when she shoots the combination. So either draw the ball for the 10 right here after she shoots the combo, or come all the way across for the 11. Kind of like drawing it, but like I said, she's pretty well stretched, so she could get on top of this 10 ball. Yeah, that's, see how the cue ball is going away from it, so now she's got to pocket a long 11 ball. This is our final game of the 8-ball, and then we'll go to, as long as the 9-ball needs to last, maximum 6 games if it goes hill-hill. Oh, great shot. Great shot.
Yep, we've not yet seen a hill-hill battle, so.
No, you will, though.
Oh, yeah.
As the tournament nears the end, seems like the match is just always a little drama involved, a lot of close ones. So she's got to draw this cue ball back. I don't think she can really afford to pass the 9 here and shoot the what would be the 10 on the right side rail. She's got to draw this back in between the 8 and the 3. And did she get there?
Oof.
I don't think she got enough draw on it. It's real close.
You're just joining us. You're watching live coverage of the Women's U.S. Amateur Championship. Got underway this morning here at Strokers in Palm Harbor, Florida. Will continue throughout the rest of the day today and into tomorrow with our final round scheduled for 7 p.m. tomorrow night. That is East Coast time.
Okay, so she doesn't seem very upset, so that means she's probably got to look at this 10. Watch out for getting behind the 6-4. She rattled it. It's going to give a nice starter to Tina on the 6 in the side, most likely.
Had a few people ask about how do you get involved in this tournament. Of course, to get here to the championship rounds of the U.S. Amateur, you do have to qualify in a preliminary round, which are generally held mid-September. The entry window, however, is open now. So you can actually go to usam.poolplayers.com, get signed up for a preliminary next fall. From there, the top players advance here to Tampa.
Okay, interesting little situation developing. She caught the point with the cue ball, so now when she shoots the 3, she's going to be going away from the 4. And she could hit it nice and delicate, soft, and try to hold for the 4 in the lower left corner. But if she runs the cue ball, I'm not sure she can really get shape with the 10 blocking that pocket. So she's going to hit this soft. Nice touch. Now, Jason, now are those qualifiers now, are those generally every year a lot of the same places do the qualifiers, or is that how do the guys find out and ladies find out?
Yeah,
about
for
that?
the most part, when you sign up, you can indicate which one is your preference. I think you have to pick 1 or 2.
She might get a little roll here, and it looks like she did.
Yep. But most of them stay the same, and usually we add a couple here and there. One of the things we changed a few years back is allowing some of the preliminaries to be played on 7-foot tables because it kind of limited where you could have the preliminaries depending on what area of the country. There's just not a lot of 9-foot tables and not enough to run a preliminary. So that has kind of opened it up a little bit more. But if you go to usam.poolplayers.com, you can get all that information.
Probably helps some of your turnouts. Also, having 1 or 2 or 3 on the 7-footers.
Yes.
Some players exclusively play on the 7-footers and stay quite more confident, probably more comfortable. Oh, great shot! Great shot, and got a lot out of the cue ball. A lot of times people kick softly at that and just take the long shot on the 8. But man, what a nice shot that was.
Amy in a position to take her first lead of the match, the final game of 8-ball. Pockets the 8 in the corner, and she now leads 2-1 over Tina Castillo. Ladies will move to the 9-ball set here. While we've got a minute, let's hear another word from our friends at PoolDog.com.
Tired of the same old when you're buying billiard supplies? Come shop with the big dogs at PoolDog.com. You want pool cues? We've got over 700. Balls, cases, accessories, no problem. Want help with your game? How does hundreds of free training articles sound? Want to shop offline? We'll mail you a free catalog. Hit us up online, PoolDog.com, or call 866-843-3294.
Amy Peterson with the break here. Now in the 9-ball set. Takes a look at the rack. Seems satisfied. Positions are cue ball just off the rail.
Yeah, that's the most common place these days to break 9-ball, is from the side rail, trying to make the 3 in the corner or there and the 1 in the side. Okay, so a little rail first starter for Tina. She'll want to go rail first, catching a couple rails afterwards, trying to play position on the 2, most likely for the same corner as the 1. Lots of open space there running the cue ball. Pretty nice effort. A little hard, of course, but
This is a good question for you, Jeremy. If somebody's asking about the differences you see, be it amateur or professional, from American players versus European players or other players from around the world. Differences in their game, maybe things they excel at that Americans handle differently. I'm not sure.
I think it probably obviously a little more training, official training is shown. Like the Chinese Taipei players, you can tell that very similar, a lot of them in their styles. So that really kind of is a proponent of them being instructed for a long time, and they believe in a certain way and they've got it down cold. But you'll see like the Philippines and the Americans, you'll see a little more personality in the swings for the most part, because of lack of training and more or less teaching yourself a little bit.
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, and the guys get it, don't get me wrong. They're not naive, but as far as trying to get their fundamentals as good as possible. But, yeah, definitely, those countries, a lot of them, they have their governments involved. They have federations that fund them for training, and it's probably the biggest there is in the differences, And you still see a lot of personalities in those, like the Euros, and see a Niels with the way he plays, and then like Jason Shaw. They all have their little bit of personality in the motion, right? But,
yeah.
But definitely you can see a little more structure involved, I guess you might call it.
Well, I mean, you see what a guy like Johan, who's come over and worked with the Team USA and some of the strides that those players have made in the last couple of years. And so, there's definitely a little bit difference in terms of the fundamentals being taught, right?
Yeah. And, he and I teach a lot of the same things as far as the fundamentals, and which really helped for our combo, I think. And but again, the Americans know what the fundamentals are, but not sometimes, but most of the time, it's better to have those extra eyes, and to maybe keep you disciplined on what you should be doing a little bit more. And
yep.
But also, the U.S. is a very unique pool setting as far as we don't have our best players playing together all the time. Where on the Euro Tour, they're playing, 150 of the same guys all the time, so they're getting the best quality of competition. Same thing in Asia. When there's tournaments, you won't see the best players all over the country, basically, like you do here in the U.S. You might find Oscar Dominguez on the West Coast playing in an event, Josh Roberts, Johnny Archer, all those guys in the South playing events. So
We got a replay question. Sorry, it's the players made their way over here, and we're asking for a replay of something on the stream, which we don't.
Don't have that.
We don't have that. No, we have not gone with the replay.
I didn't see a foul.
No,
of
it's
any
just
sort,
interesting.
So.
I noticed they had both made. I was expecting maybe they were taking a bathroom break.
Yeah,
they
were definitely
came over
discussing
and
something.
That's a first.
Yeah, I didn't see anything on that shot at all.
So while we got a minute, we were talking a little bit about Mosconi Cup and kind of the fundamentals and Johan and kind of how you got him. How did you end up hooked up with, in terms of the vice captain in that role? Did Johan come to you and say,
"Yeah,
hey, I need somebody that can do this particular thing with the players," or how did that evolve?
Well, he actually just he reached out to me, and I wouldn't say I was the only one on the list, but he said that I was thinking of people that could help us, and somebody he felt confident working with without us knowing each other really that well at all. You know, I met in passing is all, because he came on for some Mosconis for Europe after I was, you know, not playing in the team very often. So, but yeah, I went to the Mosconi in 15 and 17 there in Vegas. Me and my wife, we went there, and it was painful.
Yeah, I was there for both. Yes, it was
Yeah.
painful.
And, you know, I understand the situation, and I'm not dogging the guys at all, but, you know, there were certain things that with decision making and, you know, giving up a lot of ball in hands and, you know, in manners that pros don't really give up ball in hand. And, you know, he asked me, and I told my wife prior I'd sure like to help that team somehow. And so when the opportunity came about, it was pretty much a no-brainer.
Nice. That's got to be, I mean, you know, for you personally, that's got to be a huge thing when
Oh, yeah.
a guy with Johann's, you know, right, he's obviously won several titles for Team Europe. He's guided, you know, Team USA back to where they needed to be, and to have him come to you and say, hey, I need you, that's got to be a pretty good feel-good, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think he, you know, I think on one of the teams where he was the captain of the other side. I think I was anyways.
Yeah.
But I think he knew my game kind of too, probably more similar to, you know, how he likes to teach.
Nice.
Yeah, and also probably some other things, you know. Decisions are important in that setting. You know,
Right.
so, and getting the trust of the players, you know, I know the players. I think we get along really well. I get along pretty much with all the players, don't have any qualms with anyone. So I think it was a win-win situation for both of us.
So Amy Peterson here at the table, looking to extend her lead.
Okay. So I'm trying to, without knowing both these ladies, I'm trying to figure out who's the shooter and who's the tactician. You know, a lot of times, you know, that's how it goes. And sometimes you have them where they do all of it. Doesn't matter what part of the game it is, they've got it.
Facebook was split on the call. Is that what you said, Steve? 3 people thought no. 3 people thought yes. So
And what
call
was
stands.
as far as like feather the 5 ball or something? I mean, what was? Oh, okay.
Whether it went to a rail after contact. Okay. That's a first. I've never had both of the competitors like walk right up to us and say, "Hey, can you rewind it?"
Okay,
Which the answer is no, we can't. We probably could, but we don't. Yes. We are not invoking replay into the U.S. Amateur Championship, at least this year. So.
Well, nice stroke on the 7 there, drawing the cue ball back for the 8. Oh my! So that's from the looks of things. That's not Tina's game, missing that ball there. I wouldn't say even taking it for granted. Maybe a little nerves here early in the tournament. But you can see some of the other shots she made that's supposed to make that one.
Have you ever had replay played into a tournament?
Oh yeah.
I remember one a couple years ago. It was up in New York, maybe at Steinway, and they looked at it on a replay. So it was the first time I had remembered ever seeing anything like that.
Mosconi, we had a couple, and they were definitely needed. There was a referee there, a longtime referee that called a foul on Johnny Archer when he was jumping the 9, and cutting the 6 in. It was the most incredible shot you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And she called foul, and everybody in the room was like, "What? No way!" You know, I would have bet a lot of money he didn't foul. And sure enough, she has the choice to go back to the replay, and the referee she chose to. And when he jumped over the 9, it just shaved the 9 on top. Well, when a ball lands on top, you can subtly move it like you wouldn't believe how little.
Yeah.
You know, because it just hits a very little piece, right? And she was correct.
So she was right.
Yeah,
she went to the replay,
correct.
but she was right. That's great.
Yeah. And there's no reason not to. You know, I think, and this is a pretty smart shot here. I know it's left her a shot, but distance is your best defense a lot of times. So
I like to use the distance defense quite often.
Mm-hmm.
God knows my ball pocketing skills are not up to par. All right. Distance made a difference there.
Sure did.
Another opportunity for Amy to extend that lead.
Yeah, and I think she's really, unless she wants to roll this in the side and take a real thin cut on the 9, she needs to really probably play this in the corner. This is another shot. Unless the 8 hangs, she's going to leave a difficult shot because she should draw the cue ball back near the 9 on the bottom rail. So unless the 8, like again, hangs over the pocket, this is a little bit of a two-way shot to where you could come away, even though you miss, you could come away in a good position. Oh, real clean there. Real clean there.
Got it.
Real nice stroke. And it's a funny thing, you know, these ladies, I know they've been preparing in a big 9-ball shot for Amy Peterson here to grab maybe a 3-1 lead. But a lot of amateurs, she hit a little thick. So that one's going to hurt. But a lot of amateurs don't, one thing they don't recognize is, hey, they've been preparing and probably preparing well. Usually when you're at home, you're practicing, you're comfortable, you're already a pretty good player.
Mm-hmm.
You get to hitting the ball real well. And so if they could just recognize that, hey, I'm in a good spot, I'm playing well, just go to trusting what I'm looking at and trusting what decisions I make. You didn't spend all that time at home not to implement that kind of.
So we're now tied 2 games apiece here. The third round of the Women's U.S. Amateur Championship between Tina Castillo and Amy Peterson, race to 5. I'd say thus far, Jeremy, this is probably the closest of the matches that we've watched.
Yeah.
Or that we've had an opportunity to watch.
And I think both the young ladies that lost, of course, you never know with the draw, and it is a little bit of a short race at times here, race to 5, but I think you're going to see Lonnie and Miss No back in action, and I think they'll make a little run on the loser side, if not all the way. Okay, it looks like she's made the 7 in the side. Got a thin cut on the 1 in the side, or maybe a kiss shot off the 1 and making the 4 with the cue ball. Always the safety is a pretty prime option here too. Anytime you have 2 or 3 balls next to each other like that 5, 3, and the 8, very easy to get the snooker. She played the kiss shot, and that's another thing I like. I mean, aggressive. Like, I like that. I like seeing that. And of course, there's that safety I was talking about as well behind the 5, 8, and 3. Yeah, Aurora, there used to be a couple really nice pool rooms in Aurora, and good chance that Tina probably plays at the pool room that used to be table stakes. I can't remember what they renamed it to.
Well, Tina, she's out of Frederick, Maryland.
Oh, she's the one out of Maryland. I'm sorry. Amy's out of. Okay.
Did she say where she plays out of? She didn't mention where she plays out of.
Excuse me, it's Amy.
Amy?
That's from Aurora, yeah.
Bear Down Billiards. Yeah, we mentioned that one. That's. I think that's on her shirt there. It says Bear Down.
Okay, a nice hit there, and going to get a pretty sweet result.
Somebody had asked a lot of Mosconi-related questions, which, you know, Jeremy's here, and
that's the topic
it's
right
exciting.
now this
We're
week,
good with talking about it. The question is, the only influence Matchroom has on team selection the captain, or do they have other influence in any other aspect besides captain? I don't know for a fact, and I don't know if you do, but I'm assuming it's their show. They can decide whatever they want ultimately. I mean, I think they give the captains the kind of the freedom to pick.
Yeah, they
but
do.
You know, I mean, they could also say, well, no, that guy is not going to work. You know,
yeah.
I mean, it's their game, right?
They
can
I
make
haven't
a decision.
experienced that.
I think they try to be pretty democratic about the selection process, but at the end of the day, You know, I assume they could interject themselves if needed.
Sure.
You know. Yeah, I mean, I thought the decision on Justin Bergman was a great one. You know, I think a lot of people assumed he was going to be kind of out of contention, and you know, he was so strong at the International Open, and you know, it made sense. But I think Johan recognized that. I don't know if that's and Jeremy obviously.
Yeah.
I don't know that I don't think Matchroom had to interject anything in that kind
No,
of decision
no,
making.
not
But
that, like I said, I haven't. You know, I mean, it is owned by Matchroom.
yeah. But your experience has not been. They
No,
kind of let you guys
Yeah.
make the decisions, and
Yeah, they're all, you know.
they just want a competitive event, right?
Yeah,
they
exactly. A competitive
They
event.
want a hill 4-day nail biter that works.
Yeah, and, you know, what gets that the most is teams that want to win.
Yeah.
You know, and they can see if the time's being spent. They can see if the concern is on the brow, kind of, you know. So
Yep.
I think fairly free reign for Johan and I on that.
I remember when they named him captain of the U.S. team, right, the former European, and people said, well, nobody wants Matchroom doesn't want Team USA to win, and I'm thinking that makes zero sense.
Yeah.
They may need a U.S. win more than any of us over here in America to keep this thing
Keep
competitive.
it
It's
going,
kind of funny. Just some of the folks out there in internet land and their theories and assumptions are sometimes funny.
Well, and that's part of it, and that's just how it's going to be for the rest of time, maybe.
For as long as this internet thing's around.
Yeah, I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon, but, you know, it's like thinking before you speak. Some people do it, some people don't.
Yeah.
You know?
I guess the good news is they're talking about it, right?
Yeah,
and that's always a good
absolutely.
thing. It's when people aren't talking about you. It's
Absolutely, and I think all in all, no matter what's said, they're looking forward to a highly competitive event here in just a couple weeks. A little curve shot here on the 2. Doesn't want to curve it too much, or she could follow it in, but she does want some speed on it, though. That way she can get down for the 3, and I think she got perfect. Wow, what a shot. Now that's tidy position on the 3.
Amy mentioned her grandma in her bio here. Said grandma taught her right from wrong and how to respect others. Mentioned her parents, and of course her mom for making her join Pool League all those years ago.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you.
I love that part of the bio sheet. The ties to the family.
Yeah, the influence.
Yeah, it's nice.
One thing about pool, though, you can play it, I mean, pretty much till it's your time to go. You know,
That you can.
And it's a game that really is never the same. And it's just, to me, it's probably I don't see how anybody wouldn't want to play it, or have it to where you can play it a little bit.
It's a very inclusive sport.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things we talk about. It doesn't matter how physically gifted you are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking strong, fast, tall. Gender is not overly important.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we got a great event that we do out in Vegas, a wheelchair championship, and you see some of these players and their ability. Given the physical circumstances they're dealing with, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the game is, it can be enjoyed by so many people regardless of, again, physical
And I like that.
And yeah, you're right. You can play it for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah, and it's weird. I run across so many people that aren't in pool, but at some time or another, I dabbled in the pool room or played this or played it, and understand, and it's fun to be around. A big shot on the 9. This is to get over halfway home and with a 3-2 lead.
He pockets that 9. She regains the lead, 3-2. Talking about age and pool, I know they just had the Hall of Fame. Did you have a chance to go to the Hall of Fame down at the International Open?
I sure did, yeah.
I'm a member of the voting committee for the Hall of Fame.
Oh, cool.
I always kind of found it interesting that, you're eligible after 40.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking in pool, that's like you could have another 40 years in the industry.
Right.
Some of these folks getting elected at 40, and I'm thinking, holy cow, they got a long way to go. But
Well, it's like any other sport, though. It's getting younger and younger, especially at the professional ranks.
That it has, yeah. I mean, we've talked about some of the changes you've seen, like in the Mosconi Cup, and that's a big one. I mean,
yeah.
you know, I think my first Mosconi Cup I went to was 2013. Were you on that team in 13?
No. My
Was
last
not a,
team
was not a good
08.
was not a good year for Team USA. I won't go into it, but
Yeah.
you know, you had a lot of the veteran guys, and really kind of started, I think, with Mark Wilson when he came in and kind of shifted to some of the younger guys, and Johan kind of went with that as well, and seems to have changed things pretty dramatically. So,
Well, if you look at it, and I think if you look as a whole, the guys are much more athletes today. They take care on the pro level. They work out. I'm a smoker. Unfortunately, I got to quit it sooner or later. But you don't see them smoking cigarettes. It's just a lot more professional in many ways. Now,
I mean, a lot. The time I've spent with some of them, I don't see them drink a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they'll have a drink here or there,
Sure.
but when you think of somebody that spends a lot of time in a pool room where there's a bar and all the elements, but these guys are keeping it clean and taking their game to the next level.
Okay, a push out here by Amy, so it'll be Tina's choice, and most likely not going to pass this. You'll just hit what is her right side of the 1 and let the cue ball hit the side rail and drift down behind the 4 and the 5.
The questions about skill levels, I don't offhand have either of these ladies' skill levels. I'm assuming they're close to the highest rated you can be in APA. But again, this is a non-handicapped event, so we don't actually use skill levels. But again, most of the players you're going to see here are going to be some of our top-rated amateurs, meaning 7s and 8-ball, 9s and 9-ball.
We've got our defending champion in the ladies from Charlotte, but I've met several from the Charlotte area that have qualified both for the women's and the men's here this weekend.
Yeah, and we should clarify, it's not actually the men's, it's an open.
Yeah, it's an open.
You can be female and play in the event that starts Friday through Sunday.
Right.
Most of the ladies opt to play in the women's event, but that's kind of a personal preference. There was a time when we only had the one division. Back in the early 2000s, I think we switched around 2003 and added the ladies division.
Yeah, now all you need is the juniors, junior U.S.
Yeah.
amateur. And, man, I'll tell you that, it kind of goes in cycles. You get a real good class of juniors for 4 or 5 years and 6 years, and then it kind of slows down a little bit. It can. And then you get another one. But right now I think we've got a really great handful of juniors coming up, and I hope they're put in position and put in a position where it's worth it to continue playing pool.
Yeah. Any particular names we need to keep our eye on?
Well, the kid that won last week at the International, Lucas, is solid, super stroke. 2 Hispanic brothers from Texas. You got some other kids from Texas that I know of, the Cummings brothers, that play pretty solid. You got a lot of ladies, young ladies.
Yeah, April Larson, I know, is a really
even
great young player.
Even younger. I'm talking like 13, 14, 15 years old. So, and April's a big role model for a lot of those ladies.
Yeah.
They really look up to her, and deservedly so. Okay, she wanted to catch that a little thinner. That way she could have traveled a little closer to that 4-ball, but does have a look at it.
I was trying to think of the name of Jean's son, Cody Allen, another young junior player here in the Tampa area. I think he's moving on to play in the one of the big junior events at the end of the year.
The Worlds?
So I think so.
Worlds,
Yeah, because he was trying to raise money to be able to go over.
Right. I'm not sure if it's in Moscow again this year. It was in Moscow last year. The juniors were.
Boy, what a great thing for a young player to be able to experience something like that.
Then you got the Atlantic Cup, which is coming up in Italy, and that's in November, I believe.
Yeah.
About the same week.
It's always close to the Mosconi.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so a difficult situation here. She could pocket this 4 in the upper right. So you have to put some pace on the cue ball to try and follow it around for some type of shot on the 5. Probably if I had to coach her here, some type of safety, I think, even if it's a mild one, meaning you don't necessarily get a snooker behind it, but kind of leave your opponent rail to rail, keeping them off an offensive shot. Not easy, though. And Tina knows this is a huge game, keeping her opponent off the hill. Just don't want to lose the cue ball here. Okay, a nice hit. Very nice hit. We've got some ladies that I've met and talked to outside a little bit that been coming to this event for a long time.
Oh, yeah, you see a lot of familiar faces.
Okay, it looks like she's hitting the right side of the four, her right side, trying to run the cue ball. Maybe going for the bank. Oh, she did go for the bank. Okay.
Yeah, it's rare to see somebody new come into the U.S. Amateur Championship and really excel early on. It's typically the guys that have, or girls that have been here year after year. I mean, you've seen some of the bios here, like, well, I was here for 3 years before I, finally did something. And so it's, you get a little more experienced and a little more comfortable. Although I will say last year we had a guy come in, Abe Shade came in, never played U.S. Amateur before and took the tournament by storm. Young kid,
Right.
and he'll be here this week trying to defend his title, but he's been an impressive young guy. But typically, yeah, it's kind of the veterans that excel here in this particular format.
I would talk about it on the pros all the time. It comes up, with certain guys that we're doing the match on, but everybody can't be Josh Filler and hit the scene running like that and win big tournaments. Of course, his talent level is so high and his game is so high, it makes a big difference. But even guys that are just a little below him, it still usually takes them a season or two to really flourish on a pro scene like myself. Of course, I'm not saying I'm like Filler, but I played pretty good back in the day. And my first year in '96 playing, I think, 7 events. And I was a pretty good tournament player on a regional level and a good gambler. I won 1 match in 7 tournaments.
Wow.
And a lot of the matches I lost, I could beat the person gambling, or I already had beat them gambling. They were great players, obviously, but it's just a matter of getting used to things. Getting used to being your most comfortable. Which comfort and confidence, once you start learning how to play, goes as long as anything. And it's the biggest tool in this game you can have. Just look like for Jason Shaw, for instance, a great player. But hadn't put his hands on that win lately, and he goes and has that Dismal Swamp Classic win a week before the International. Carries that confidence, and it wasn't a huge tournament, but it wasn't a small one either. But and carries it right into the International. And
I didn't realize he had played a tournament right before.
The week before. He won it the day before the tournament started, actually. So it's in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, like an hour away from the international venue. So they always host a nice tournament there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Watch out for the scratch. Okay, nice stroke there. Applying a lot of right English to spin that in.
Tina looking to even this up for the 3rd time in the match.
And this is just the type of shot that back home she's been practicing. Trust what you're looking at. Trust the stroke you've been working on. And there she goes. She cut it right on in. She may elect to play safe here and put the 9 on the back rail and run the cue ball to the top rail. Okay, she wanted that to go a bit more. She didn't want to leave that cut shot.
Tina mentioned her mom as an influence in her life had been in pool, Efren Reyes, Karen Core, specifically, and then too many others to mention. So
Well, those are pretty good too.
Yeah,
right there.
no, there's a couple of pretty solid pool role models there.
Karen, have you got to be around her much? She's an awesome lady.
It's been, early in my career at APA when we were doing some work with the WPBA, I had a chance to be around her a little bit, do some interviews and stuff with her. Not so much in recent years, and I don't know. I mean, she still plays, but I don't see her a whole lot.
Yeah.
Or as often as I did, just kind of running into her.
Yeah, she plays a lot of the open events up in the Northeast still, I think, with some of the Joss tours and different ones up there. And then, of course, I'm sure she still makes all the WPA events, which I think they're having one not too far away in Wisconsin, I believe, in less than a month maybe or so.
Of course, if you're looking to take your game to the next level and you're wanting to try out a low deflection shaft for the first time, great opportunity from the folks at PoolDog.com. Got a great offer there for you to try out one of their new Summit shafts. Try them out for just $134, and they've got a 60-day guarantee. So if you try it out, it's not for you, you send it back. Comes with a Kamui soft tip, so pretty nice little value there. A lot of bang for your buck, if you will, if you're looking to kind of step up your game in terms of your equipment.
Yeah, Christmas right around the corner.
That's right. Christmas is right around the corner, and we mentioned it earlier, but support our friends that are sponsoring these events, right?
And it looks like
A little break in the action here.
Amy is taking a bathroom break, I believe. Up 4-2. That type of sport where you fall in love with yourself, be yourself, and you're going to play your best pool.
Jason Bowman reporting live from Alexandra Palace in London for coverage of the Mosconi Cup.
But I think the Americans have
Pretty
a
nice
very,
venue, huh?
very
Absolutely.
good chance this year. And I'm not just saying that to hype it up
Up on the
because
hill,
I'm
got a
talking to
little
you,
cold.
Jason. And I know it's all American fans watching out there. I'm serious. They have a really good chance.
Oh, Jim. How did he hit that? How did he hit that to set himself up? His debut in the Mosconi Cup.
They say the Mosconi Cup doesn't mean a lot to Shane Van Boning. They are talking rubbish. For him, it means the world. Look at that reaction. Not just a win over Jason Shaw, a whitewash. What a performance.
I think after day one, it seemed like the conversation was, whew, what a relief. Team USA is still in this thing. After day two, though, is the conversation, is it that this may happen?
There's no doubt that at least they're having the conversation. I think fans are starting to believe in it as well. They've played exceptionally well. AccuStats
That's got to stir some of the emotions for you, doesn't it? I mean,
it does.
I'm getting pumped up watching it. I know you got to be
It
getting
did.
pumped.
I got a little tingly,
Yeah.
that's for sure.
Oh, man. I'll never forget Skyler, that third and final match that day, or the fourth to the final match when he beat Jason Shaw in that match. And he had been taking it from the crowd. The crowd was brutal that match. And
he gave it back.
He got
to
the
him a little
last
bit.
laugh.
Yeah,
You don't usually see that kind of reaction from Skyler or most of those guys, but I just remember him raising his cue and saying, "Where's the crowd
kinda
now?"
Gave him
That
the
was
ear a little bit, yeah.
Classic moment.
Yeah, and Tyler with the Jason Shaw and Shane's chair and all
Yeah.
that.
Oh, man.
Everything was great.
If you have not experienced the Mosconi Cup, you are missing out.
Okay, so a thin one on the side, and I thought she could go by the 8, and she sure did. Okay, she's probably going to have to go forward here, trying to maybe slightly contact the 4 and then let the cue ball run for some type of shape on the 3. If she draws the ball, I'm afraid she'll catch the 4 and kind of pin herself behind the 6. Okay, she's cueing downward, so gonna have to get a lot of power on this to escape by that 4 and back out for a shot on the 3. She catches the 4, I'm afraid. Okay, she hit it clean enough. She's got a little bit of a cut on the 3. Okay, she's got to draw the ball here, though, because this angle's taking her towards a scratch in the lower left-hand corner. Well, made it off the 5, so a little bit of a roll there. And this week, you know, this isn't the week to start off slow in a match with the races to 5. You really got to be on top of it right from the lag.
Absolutely.
Big shot here. Okay, she got it down. Not the exact cue ball she wanted. Not snookered, though, and so she'll have to make a decision here. It's a very thin cut in the corner by the 9. Not saying it's not possible, but very difficult. The bank up by the 8 in the upper left-hand corner is possible. The bank to the upper right-hand corner is possible. She's got a little bit of a safety option. I'm trying to maybe put the cue ball behind the 9. Looks like she's going to go for the thin cut. There's an outside chance at a 5-9 combination if she wanted to play it. It's a pretty low percentage shot, though.
She's looking at it, though, isn't she?
Yeah, well, she's kind of put herself to where a lot of things are difficult.
Yeah.
So the one thing about the 5-9 is she can probably run her cue ball to the other end of the table to try and get a little safety with a little distance, maybe. If she draws it, good chance of scratching. So she wants to follow this ball. Like that. So pretty smart shot overall. A lot of pressure now on Tina. That's going to end up in front of the side, I'm afraid. Now, how many of these have you done already, Jason? No.
How many U.S. Amateur Championships? 2000 would have been my first. Maryland.
Oh, you started that long ago.
David Rowell was the champion that year.
David Rowell. I haven't heard that name in a long time.
He, because Henry Broad had won in 98 and 99 and was trying to win it for the 3rd time in a row, but it was David Rowell who came into that event in Maryland, and that's kind of the first time he came on my radar, and he's been a great player for years ever since.
Yeah, he used to play in the U.S. Open for many years in a row, and I mainly see David there at the U.S. Open. I see him occasionally at the Derby or some other places, but then I don't know if he took a little hiatus from pool. David
He was running a pool room for a while in Alabama, and he's always been around pool, though, one way or another.
Oh, nice shot there, and a nice cue ball coming back over for a little bit of a thin 8 in the side, but not bad. So after watching this match, I'd say call Amy like steady. You know what I mean? Like pretty smart player. May not show you brilliance the entire time, but going to run out on you. And this looks like to me she can cut it in the side and maybe have to run into the run into the 9 with the cue ball. Unless she wants to put a lot of English on this thin cut in the side. It's kind of up to her. Either way, these you don't want to hit with a ton of speed and make that pocket even smaller than it already is. Okay, nice shot.
Amy said here on her bio her goal this year is a top 3 finish. She could get off to a real good start here by pocketing this 9 in the side. Pocketed she does, and the victory is hers.
Yeah, very solid play.
Amy Peterson, a winner, 5-2 over Tina Castillo. Our third round coverage is complete. We're going to take a short break, and we will be back here on our YouTube or our Facebook channel Facebook page, I should
That's
say.
right.
YouTube channel. We're over there as well. We're everywhere, Jeremy.
There you go.
So come back and see us soon, folks. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Thanks for joining us.